they removed every other class from the fucking game, because this class is just god-awful. It's been a week of the Season 5 PTR in D4 now, where I've tested as many builds as possible from all classes. To try and improve the game, obviously. No other reasons. Fine. I'm broke as shit and need that YouTube drip. Don't judge me. But in any way, when it was time for the Sorcerer, it became apparent just how shit this class truly is. And why do I even care? Well, damn, my man, it's probably the most fun class in the game, but I'm forced to avoid it like the fucking plague, due to how god-awful it is. But this is not going to be me ranting for an entire video, rather we'll discover what makes the Sorcerer class shit, and what needs to happen to make it an actual class. And to understand the former, let's go back in time.
Oh, wow!
Timmy, give your meat a good old rub. That's it. Nice and hot. Hot.
Back to a simpler time, when dinosaurs roamed the earth and Bobby Kotick was doing Bobby Kotick stuff. Some call it Season 0. I simply call it the pre-para gaming era. Back then, Sorcerers was somewhat shit, but it was still dishing out some decent damage. The main issue back then was only dealing damage when enemies were crowd-controlled, meaning the class's main weakness was bossing. But I'd still say the class balance was better than it is today. Fast forward to Season 1, also dog shit, but it didn't matter as we didn't have any endgame. Season 2, even more dog shit. But hey, Mr. Paragaming, wasn't that the time when ball lightning was dominating the entire game? Yeah, my man, but spoiler alert. It was due to it being bugged. Well, I call it the ball fondler because you'll be fondling more balls than you can handle. Ah, good times. Season 3. Probably the most dogshit the class has ever been, seeing as the barbarians and rogues just kept getting stronger, leaving the poor sorcerers behind. But no endgame meant it barely made a difference. And then we have Season 4 and the 5 PTR. While Sorcerer does have some fun builds this season, they're all at least 20 tiers below the other classes in the pit, with one exception, the Firecuna Immortal Shatter build. And spoiler alert again, this is also bugged and fixed in Season 5, and costs like 40 billion gold. Alright, so what do they actually have? Well, damn, Firebolt without the Shatter is doing pretty well. But there's a problem with that one as well. Yep, you are correct, my man, it's being absolutely gutted in Season 5. And it's also boring as shit. Staying immune with Flame Shield is gone, Ice Barrier is nerfed, and Blizz put a cap on the Burning Instinct legendary node, meaning we were doing less damage than all the other classes while completely ignoring defensives and staying immortal, and still received a massive damage nerf. But now you're probably like, hey Mr. Paragaming Big Dick Senpai, I'm rocking a Sorcerer, I'm level 69 and it's feeling amazing. Yep, I completely agree with you on that one. So let's pull out my old Sorcerer out of retirement and see where everything is going wrong. Let's start with the aspects and uniques. Nothing wrong here really, and they've got a bunch of cool and interesting ones. While still relying on staggering enemies, we have been getting more and more generic damage boosting ones which are great, so nothing wrong here. Alright, what about the skill tree then? Well, considering these are spread between cold, fire and lightning, they're slightly more difficult to use for Big Damn, but some of them are still quite decent. And then we end up in the key passives. This is where it turns to shit. Because all of these are just god-awful compared to a rogue or barbarian, for example, with the main issue being that we have absolutely nothing to scale. None of these scale with better gear, meaning there's a cap in how much damage we can deal. They're also complete trash. Let's compare these with the barbarian, for example. Unconstrained and unbridled rage already does 3 to 5 times the damage of all the sorcerer passives, and gushing wounds is uncapped, meaning we can scale it to the fucking moon. Same with rogue, all uncapped passives and we can scale them infinitely. Necro and Druid are trash though, except the Boner one. And will you look at that? It's the best Necro build in the game, but that's a topic for another day. Anyhow, that's the main issue. Let's check them out one by one. Avalanche dishes out a bit of extra damage, which is good, but it's completely reliant on lucky hit, meaning you're not actually getting the 60% extra damage here. Shatter is currently great as it double dips and can offset chain reactions for some massive nukes. But using this, you're forced to fight only bosses with adds, seeing as nothing otherwise explodes. Except Arnie, perhaps. If you know, you know. Overflowing energy is insanely cool. I absolutely love this one, but it doesn't boost our damage. And we need some damage, man. Via's mastery is just pathetic. 20 to 25% damage, come on, man. Critical strikes should increase these to 225%, and then we can talk. ESU's ferocity is probably the worst of the bunch. 25% crit damage against high health enemies is decent. But then again, it would need to be 5 times this at least. And the critical strike chance is basically worse than a crit chance affix. Combustion. Oh man, I barely know where to start. You can probably buff the unique source of burning by 10 times, and then it could become decent. The passives are all insanely cool, but they're just weak. This would not be an issue at all if we had a great Paragon board. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Sorcerers has the most lackluster Paragons out of all classes and needs a massive overhaul. All the legendary nodes are also split between fire, lightning, and cold, meaning there's no reason to pick up more than a few of them. And the ones that could have been decent, such as searing heat, are capped at 30%. Now, there's supposedly coming huge Paragon updates in the expansion, and I therefore think that the Sorcerer Paragons are doomed until then. So my solution: fix the goddamn key passives, man. Combustion should be 4% extra big damn per 5 intelligence or something, same with the other ones. And if you don't want to do this, then just quadruple their damage and we may get them to the barb level. And if we head on over to the Paragons, please stop capping all the legendary nodes. This is insanely boring, and there are only 2 ways for you to do this. Either you cap every legendary node in the game, or you simply stop capping them. There's also no point in making the legendary nodes so insanely specific. The Rogues also has 3 elements: Shadow, Poison, and Cold. This is, however, solved by granting generic legendary nodes, along with more specific glyphs instead. Or just the Eldritch Bounty node, granting damage depending on what you dealt damage with. A solid solution. Alright, so is there any hope for Sorcerers in Season 5? Well, the splintering energy aspect is looking decent only due to it being uncapped, but it has the issue of being great in AoE mainly. Arc Lash is decent due to the new uniques, but then you may as well just play a barb with the same items and deal 50 times the damage. So in summary, the key passives are shit, the Paragons are shit, and Sorcerer needs a massive buff here. Let me know what else you would like to see, and I'll see you in the next one.